So this is what we're going with.
Like, so let's look at like the actual numbers here, right? So I pulled up numbers on bitcoinvisuals.com/lightning.
Pull up the data.
Put that in the description. Thanks to whoever the hell made this. I don't know who did that. I don't know. This is what it came up on the internet. Like, I mean, we talked about this thing a long time ago. We stopped 2023, so we were at the peak of adoption, I'd say, in 2023. And then it's just been downhill from there. We've got, I guess, more capacity per channel, which means that going less down in channels is okay. But like network capacity overall kind of plateaued around 500 million, which is a substantial amount, but like nowhere near the actual size of the market cap of Bitcoin or the market cap of other large cryptos that provide similar functionality.
Yeah. But what's happening is exactly something that you predicted. Both of y'all did. And that is, like, you look at the number of channels that are going down, but the capacity of the channels going up, and it's creeping up because it's going to centralize, right, to people that actually want to fucking do it, right? Like Coinbase is probably got a huge channel.
We talked about hubs.
Huge hub. Yeah. I think the other thing that was making people scared is they thought that if you run a Bitcoin Lightning node, you become a money services business.
I mean, look at this.
Right?
The channels effectively halved, which might be a good thing depending upon the routing and that complexity. But like capacity per channel is 10 million to 15 million. So I don't know how that works. I guess these numbers have to work out so that you have a plateau here from 5,000 Bitcoin, around 5,000
Let's look at the distance measures. That's gone up quite a bit. Isn't that a bad thing?
So if you have number of channels going down and distance going up, that feels like the routing is not necessarily always using central hubs, right? If you assume that capacity goes up per channel, you have less channels. But if you look at you've taken into account nodes, right? So like how many channels per node you have. The number of nodes is kind of plateaued. So you have the same number of nodes with less channels providing more capacity. So that should mean less hops, but you're not seeing that in here. And this doesn't look that way. These aren't that big of a difference, really, in terms of the number of hops differentiation. So about the same. So probably just more efficient. They get more efficient over the years. Doesn't mean it's taken over because like the capacity isn't that big. Like $500 million is how much is a day's volume in Uniswap, right?
It's a good question. To let Google.
Real-time data.
Generating.
I don't see data here. Where's data here?
Do a swap real quick. Make some money.
Where's the analytics?
There's no data. There is no data here. Go back to the Google. Oh, wait. Hold up. You're in the middle of there. It showed some stuff. Keep going now. All-time volume. Okay, never mind. Oh, here it is right there. Look.
DeFi Llama. Here we go. Swap. Volume. Who knows? $2 billion.
Well, damn.
24 hours. So let's talk about $500 million in capacity of the Bitcoin. Now, these are direct correlated. Like these aren't direct apples to apples comparisons, but you can get a pretty good idea here. Like
it's apples to pears. It's close.
Let's see what does this have?
24-hour volume say on DeFi Llama?
24-hour volume on DeFi Llama. It says Uniswap
2 billion,
is 2.05 billion.
So
2 bills
on their website has 1.
This is just Uniswap, right? This isn't just all of the other exchanges into account.
Do you see that there's a mismatch though of 800 million?
What do you mean?
Between what Uniswap is self-reporting 1.2 billion 24-hour volume. DeFi Llama is reporting little over 2 billion. It's a mismatch.
Yeah, maybe one goes midnight to midnight.
It's Uniswap versus one version of Uniswap.
Click on V4.
150 million, 1.09 billion, 6 million, 232,000.
So 1 and 2 are dead.
Yeah, V3 is usually the main one, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, like that gives you a Bitcoin Lightning Network, which is just a payments network on top of Bitcoin, and like the main decentralized exchange of Ethereum in the Ethereum L2 ecosystem, I'd say.
You ever use
How do you guys feel about chin rat tails, like lower lip rat tails?
Gross.
So get rid of that.
All
right, get rid of that.
So Lightning Network happened. Script wanted us to talk about it, but I don't think it happened that much. Not that big of a deal. Like relative to the other things that happened since 2023, Lightning is kind of an understory, in my opinion. They did try to make
the bigger story is the L2s, right? Like easily.
Kind of. I think that's more of a joke narrative. Like thread history, like up till the 400th episode of season 1 of Bitcoin, we talked about kind of Bitcoin's since to build layer 2s and to have this settlement layer network that only does storage of value stuff, and then finally, and like how everyone shit on Ethereum and its general roadmap of building things on top, layers there. And then they go and do it, and they try to replicate it on a worse scripting system of Bitcoin. And so, like, it's this full scale flip. And I think the Ordinals project, which happened since we left, or like got big since we left, trying to recreate NFTs or basically NFTs on Bitcoin, brought a bunch of people into the Bitcoin ecosystem that then started changing that original kind of idealist mentality of early Bitcoin. And like, we can build a bunch of stuff on here. It is permissionless. You can't stop us. And so they use the kind of same ideals that the Bitcoin ecosystem stood by, which is like permissionless innovation, and threw it in their face to do things that the original Bitcoin ecosystem didn't want to do. And then that kind of brought a bunch of new people in, a lot of fresh blood, and they started trying to figure out new ways to build on top of Bitcoin.
I think they added like 6,000 new Bitcoin core nodes at peak when that was going on.
Let's look at that. Bitcoin visuals, dashboards, various stats.
Totality, it was like 10 to 20 or 10 to 12,000 total Bitcoin nodes during that peak.
Bitcoin node years.
Bitcoin node growth has gone up. I know that for a fact. A lot of people are filling the Bitcoin nodes.
Dashboards, various stats.
So
Jay Poon.
Okay, nothing here on various stats. That's cool. Lightning nodes, bandwidth.
Oh, January 2023. So just look at Bitcoin nodes. So bitnodes.io. So there's 21,926 nodes right now on Bitcoin. Let's see if they have
Where's
a
that?
historical chart.
Yeah, you.
Bitnodes.io.
Would you guys say that is a lot or a little bit amount of nodes?
That's a lot. That's a lot. So if you look at January 2023, so we were at total 12,863 nodes, and to date we are at 21,583. So
that's a huge gain.
Helped. That's a really big gain.
Look at that drop.
20% in 1 year? Holy cow. That was China.
Here's 8 years.
No, damn, that huge drop.
What was that?
Oh, look at that. What is that about in 2024? What happened in July 16, 2024?
I don't know. But look at the, I think what's
that has to
interesting
be
here,
a blip.
what's really interesting here, if you look at the nodes, like the trend here is the number of, if you look at the
Onion
number, it's the number of onion nodes. So you
Yeah,
you have a lot of nodes running behind an anonymization network, which I think is really cool. That's awesome.
It looks like Bitcoin is
Like,
healthily
else?
growing at a very slow rate. If we
Yeah.
could get that power consumption thing solved, man, Bitcoin would be still pretty dope, I think.
No, that's never going to happen. It can't happen. That's the whole point. Like,
What about nuclear energy?
It's still
Excuse me, I said that wrong. Nuclear.
that's like, I think you've missed the point of how Bitcoin mining works and the
What? No.
capitalism nature of it, right? Like, in the event there's more energy, or in the event anything becomes more efficient, it means we throw more energy at it for more hashing power. The name of the game for mining is contributing as much power or hashing power into the network as you possibly can in the most efficient way. So, like, in the event we find any efficiency gains, we're not going to just remove power from the network. People are just going to put more into it at a more efficient rate, thus contributing more to the network and hopefully earning more money. Like, the name of the game is increasing margins.
Point. He was just saying how he wishes Bitcoin had, proof of stake like power savings. Is all he was saying.
Yeah. Yeah, but obviously it's like a must construct more pylons when it comes to Bitcoin, right? It's always
thing here though is that, like, proof of work, and specifically Bitcoin's proof of work,
I hear that in my sleep sometimes,
is a unique way of creating digital scarcity from energy, and there can only be one of them, because if you started a new similar proof of work hashing style as SHA-256 as Bitcoin does, Bitcoin would just kill it immediately. So there's always going to be one type of proof of work network for every type of hashing algorithm there is for proof of work, whether it be storage capacity, GPU based things, or ASICs they're Bitcoin specific. And so, and the community around this type is really, 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 really stable, which means Bitcoin is really, 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 really stable. And it's so big that you can't take it over. So, like, that asset, the amount of effort it takes to change that asset is so much that it's a really, really stable asset in terms of, like, not going to go anywhere.
Yeah. Let's talk about the real thing that we need to be discussing right now is who the fuck would wear those red makeshift Allen Iverson shoes that are price dropped for Jesse's ads right now? And who's buying Leonardo da Vinci Code devices?
Price drop. Nobody apparently.
This
Look at
that
this. This
Latin phrase.
which one?
The Latin phrase that
seen Sarah?
de minimis, whatever. It's in the bill, right? That tariffs bill that was passed. It was like
I don't
something
know.
along the lines of anything below was like $800 or I can't remember the details. But anyway, everybody's laughing because Timu is going to get killed because now everything gets basically a tariff slapped on it, no matter
I didn't think about
how
that.
small the price. Yeah.
Ooh.
Here's a look at Bitcoin dominance over time since 2023. So that's
Dude,
always
this graph
interesting.
blows my mind, dude.
So if we look at like early, right, when Ethereum got started, we had this slow gain until we almost had
Slow
a crossing of Bitcoin dominance. Where like Ethereum
It was about
equal footing,
a flippening.
and that was the kind of term that people use, and then it changed again. Then it came up a little bit, and now you've seen us like since 2022, you've seen a steady separation of Bitcoin and Ethereum and
Yeah.
other things, right? And I think that's because in the earlier days, actually maybe not so much, because you have a bunch of the other stuff still playing a significant contribution to this with Ethereum. So like
I have a theory as well,
that
or a
around Bitcoin
conjecture.
is it has done the one thing that it has always done really well, and what all of the other things do is kind of continuously various, and so
Yeah.
it's hard to dominate when you do so many things.